Well, good evening and welcome to Asbury United Methodist Church. Thank you so much for joining us for our annual Americana Concert. This year, a celebration of America. My name is Michael Kemp. I'm the Director of Music here at Asbury, and I'm joined by my very good friend, distinguished colleague, musician, composer extraordinaire, and the former director here at Asbury, Hart Morris. Hart, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, we are super excited about this year's Americana program, and it has been such a big part of this community for many years, which is why even in the middle of this pandemic, we thought we've got to figure out a way to still be able to have that. So can you tell us a little bit of the history of the Americana program, how it got started, how long roughly it's been going on, and why do you think this has been such a big part of the Tulsa community?
Well, it began with the orchestra director that we had at the time, Charles Emerson, did a program of orchestral music. He wanted to do a patriotic tribute to our country and to the armed services, and so they did that concert, and it was well attended. As with many things like this, the first time you do it, it's moderately attended.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very nicely done. I think he did that twice.
Okay.
After he left, we wanted to continue it because the crowd had grown, and so we included the choir with it, and we did choir and orchestra programs from there on. As it progressed, I decided to broaden the scope of music that we could do. We changed it to an Americana type of approach, not only patriotic music,
okay,
though we continued to do patriotic things, but we broadened the emphasis to make it include music by American composers.
Okay.
Music that had been sung by or made popular by American performers. So it gave us Count Basie, it gave us Leonard Bernstein, it gave us Mac Wilberg, many different choices of the music that we could do, both choral and orchestra, and choral and orchestra together.
Okay.
And there are several years, too, that we included also the congregation in singing some patriotic hymns.
Very cool. And what have been some of your favorite moments throughout the years? I've heard from some of our choir and orchestra members of some of their favorite moments and some creative things that you did in the scope of doing things from different perspectives. What were some of your favorite moments that you remember?
There was a ladies' ensemble that sang, I believe it was a triple trio, 9 ladies, and one year they did Andrews Sisters things from World War II era. We also did some Glenn Miller, the same concert. There was one year that we did some medleys of television shows, theme songs from television shows. So there was, Bonanza and the Brady Bunch, and quite a variety of different kinds of music for that the choir sang. It was fun because those were things from our younger days. For the younger population of the choir, some of them did not know some of those things. But as I was one of the oldest people involved in it, that's where I started from and included some of those things. And they were fun to sing, whether they recognized it from their youth or not.
Gotcha. Well, those were some of the fun memories that some of our choir and orchestra have shared with me. And I believe the following year after that medley, you put together a medley of some of the commercial jingles.
Yes, it was a brought to you by thing. Last year we did Bonanza. This year we bring you Pepsodent, or commercial songs that had themes like that folks would recognize. Again, some of the younger folks, I never heard of that product, but Babbo, or, well, forget Babbo. Everyone else has. So, doesn't matter.
Well, it sounds like over the years we've done a lot with the Americana Concert that has been a lot of fun and just, again, a great way to celebrate America. So with that, we're going to turn it over to our choir and the orchestra. And wherever you are, we want to invite you to stand as they lead us in singing our country's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner.
One of the things we can celebrate tonight, and we are celebrating tonight with the music that you've already heard from the orchestra, is the rich history that we have, the heritage of our American folk music. The orchestra began tonight with "This Land Is Your Land, This Is My Country, You're a Grand Old Flag."
And we're going to turn it back over to the orchestra now as they do another great medley that'll include songs like "Turkey in the Straw," "Oh Susanna," "Shenandoah," and a great ending with "When the Saints Go Marching In." This is Camp Kirkland's arrangement, Songs of America.
Thank you. from Camp Humphreys, South Korea. It's good to see you, Asbury. And I just wanted to send a special message saying thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support of my ministry here and the overwhelming show of love that you've given to our soldiers. You sent in so many supplies and wrote so many letters that there is no way that I can thank everybody who needs to be thanked. So I wanted to send a special message over video to you from Camp Humphreys saying from the bottom of my heart, God bless you and thank you.
Well, another way tonight that we're going to celebrate America is by honoring the men and women who serve in our armed forces. So if you have served or are currently serving, first of all, we just want to say thank you for your service. And this song is dedicated to you. This is Bob Loudon's The Armed Forces Salute.
As we are grateful tonight for those who serve in our armed forces, we are also grateful for those first responders, our firefighters, our law enforcement folks, the medical staff who are helping us through this COVID-19 period. We are grateful for those who put their lives on the line daily for us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And now we're going to turn our attention to a song that many consider to be our country's unofficial national anthem, and it was based on a poem written by Catherine Lee Bates called Pikes Peak, which, as you can imagine, was written after her visit to Hawaii.
Pikes Peak?
No,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak.
Written after her experience. It says, as she climbed the peak and just saw the beautiful landscape, that these words came to her. Now, interestingly enough, as you well know, songs, it's interesting as you study history, how they take on so many different iterations, how lyrics are written and then later they're set to many different tunes. So, for instance, this tune, or this song, I should say, by 1900, there were about 50 or 75 different melodies that it was sung to. And interestingly enough, one of the most popular ones was the Scottish, the Scottish
Auld
folk
Lang
song.
Syne?
The Scottish folk song
Yeah.
that we know as Auld Lang Syne. So, but it wasn't until Samuel Ward wrote the hymn called Materna that lyric and that melody was put together in what we know today as America the Beautiful. This is Mary McDonald's arrangement of America the Beautiful.
Beautiful for spacious skies, for
beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain.
Okay, this is why we're grateful to Samuel Ward for writing the tune to which we now sing this, Materna. Thank you, Samuel Ward. And before we go too far down the trail, let's turn it back to the orchestra for a medley called Celebration of American Spirituals, written by Kemp Kirkland.
Well, what a fun piece of music, a great arrangement. I love the way it begins with that beautiful, just stirring melody of Deep River, and then goes into that fun Dixieland version of Just a Closer Walk with Thee, and then just kicks it up into high gear with that up-tempo version of Every Time I Feel That. 2 and 4, Hart.
Oh, 2 and 4 is better than 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'll do that again if you'd like.
But just what a fun arrangement of these
Indeed,
classic
it
American
really is.
spirituals.
Classic American. The next song we're going to hear is an arrangement of what is arguably the favorite hymn of most anyone you'd ask. What's your favorite hymn? And many people would say, Amazing Grace. This arrangement is by Mac Wilberg. It is a stirring arrangement. We trust that you will be inspired by it. John Newton's life was changed from that of a slave trader. He'd spent his life in a mess. And God changed his life. He became a preacher. And this is the product of his experience, his testimony of sorts. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound.
Well, Hart, just like you said, what a incredible arrangement of an amazing song. And you know, it's just curious to me, you know, why has such a song as Amazing Grace, you know, why has its popularity spread not just in churches, but as we were talking earlier, around the world, sacred. What's the other word that I'm thinking of? Not sacred, but you know,
secular.
Secular. I mean, you just hear it in all
venues.
Yeah, all areas of life. Why is it that you think that this song has just? It's one of those rare songs that, as you mentioned earlier, if you ask anybody what's your favorite song, what's your favorite hymn, this would likely be number one.
I think the reason this is so popular is because it's a simple tune, it's singable, anybody can sing it, and the text is just powerful.
Yeah. Amazing song, amazing arrangement. And now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We've heard from our wonderful Chancel Choir. We've heard from our wonderful New Covenant Orchestra. And now we're going to hear from one of our ensembles, our jazz ensemble called Asbury Power and Light. But before we do, I want to take a moment and just to brag a little bit, if I can. Not the egotistical kind of brag, but like the almost the annoying parent kind of brag that I want to show you the latest pictures. As you know, Hart, we are so blessed here at Asbury to have so many just incredibly talented people who love to use their gifts to serve. And even when my family and I were visiting last year, that was one of the things that just was so beautiful to see. Yes, there was a talent level, but everyone that I talked to, the message that I heard over and over was, we want to serve. We want to use what we have to be able to serve our church, our community, and beyond. And really, I mean, that's how this program tonight is happening. You know, we're in the midst of Corona. 2020 has just been a crazy year. We've all been isolated, and we just thought, as we were thinking about the upcoming Americana program, how are we going to be able to do this? And yet we thought we've got to be able to do this. I mean, it's been such a staple in the community. And so we reached out to our choir and our orchestra members and just said, you know, we don't really have time to rehearse, but if you are able and want to be a part of it, we will send the music out. You've got to learn your music on your own, show up on this day, and then we'll record it. And they did. And it's just...
Yes, they did.
Amazing. So, again, just want to say thank you to everybody in our choir and orchestra and AP&L that we're about to hear. And also just want to open an invitation. If you're in the community, if you love music and you want to find a place where you can serve, we invite you to come check us out, get in touch with us here at Asbury. We would love to help you find a way that you can use that gift to serve the church, the community, and beyond. Right. So that's why we're here tonight. So we're going to turn it over to Ed Morris and Asbury Power and Light in Jerry Gray's arrangement of American Patrol. Well, that arrangement of American Patrol was made popular by the Glenn Miller Orchestra during the World War II era. And it's really amazing how Glenn Miller and so many others, you think about the USO, how music has been a part of encouraging people and boosting morale during wartime. And really, I mean, that has been common for forever, probably. And the case is the same with the song that we're about to hear. The person who wrote this was Julia Ward Howe. And my understanding was that she was invited by President Lincoln. She was on a commission to come and observe the conditions of the troops of the Union during that time. And one of the things that she would have observed, one of the things that happened in the evenings were the gentlemen would be around campfires, and just as a way to really kind of entertain and have fun, they would take these popular songs and they would change some of the words just to get a good laugh out of them. And one of the songs that supposedly she heard was John Brown's Body, which probably by the time she heard it, the lyrics may have been less than reputable. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but the story
More
goes.
than likely.
The story goes that someone turned to her because she was an author, writer at that time. Someone turned to her and said, "Can't you do any better?" Because the song, the lyric was very popular.
Yes.
And so the story goes that she went home that night. She went to bed like she normally did, but somehow in the morning she just arose and these lyrics just started to form in her head. And she scrounged up a pencil and wrote them down. And it became what we know today as the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Yes.
She shared those lyrics with the president. She sent them to, was it
Atlantic Monthly.
Atlantic Monthly? And how much did you say she got paid for
my
that?
understanding was that they paid her $5.
$5.
So
But since that publication, it started to spread like wildfire, and soon this song became, as it was coupled with that tune that she heard, became a kind of like a fight song or an anthem, if you will, not just during the Civil War, but
long after.
for wars later and different movements specifically surrounding the cause of justice. And I find it interesting, not really any coincidence, but very interesting that Martin Luther King's final speech, that the way he ended the whole thing was with the opening line, mine eyes have seen the coming of the glory of the Lord.
I've heard that speech. Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, and I've heard excerpts from that speech for years, but I'd never read the whole speech until recently. I decided I would like to just read that, and it's very, very inspiring document. And we're reading that in the context, especially of what we're experiencing today in our country with all of the unrest and the things. Listening to Martin Luther King go through the trials and enumerate them is a very inspiring read. He began by saying, if I could ask the Lord to let me live in any certain era, I would begin with the Phoenicians or the Egyptians. And he started way back, and he came and he worked his way through history until he got to where we are today. And he said, but I would like to ask the Lord to let me be a part of today, if it was a choice, because this is an important time in our history. And he was encouraging the people to march and to let them express their desire for freedom, similar to what we're having now. He was, I didn't know this either, but he said, I was in a book signing in New York, and a young lady walked up to the table and said, "Are you Martin Luther King?" And he said, "Yes," as he was autographing a book, and the lady stabbed him, which I had not known that.
Wow.
The doctor told Dr. King that if he had sneezed, he would have died because it was so close to his aorta. But he survived, obviously, and he began to receive communication from around the world, from the president, from the vice president, from dignitaries. But he said the most memorable note I got was from a young ninth grade student who said, Dr. King, I'm most grateful that you did not sneeze. He said, ironically, it was a young white girl, and she said, I don't need to tell you that, but I'm white, and I'm so grateful. And he said, I'm grateful, too, that I did not sneeze because I am here today to be a participant. And that's where I began to hear that speech most of the time. I may not make it with you. I may not make it to the promised land, but I've been to the mountain. I've seen what's on the other side. Mine eyes have seen the glory.
And I can't help but think that line right there, goes back to, we hear in the Bible that the Lord says, what does the Lord require of you? To love justice, to do mercy, to walk humbly with your God. And I just think what a message that we need to hear today, and what a message that is embedded in the lyrics of these songs. So as we stand here today, same as when the song was written, same as what Martin Luther King was experiencing, there is injustice in the world.
There is.
And yet we're called to stand up for that and do what the Lord has required of us. And so we just pray that this song would continue to be the anthem of liberation as it has in the past, to stand up for what is right. This is Peter Wilhowski's arrangement, the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
to make men holy. Let us live to make men free while God is marching on.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this year's Americana program, A Celebration of America. Hart, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed being here tonight and being able to be a part.
Oh,
Thank
man,
you.
it has been fun. It has been a blast to hang out with you and to laugh and to just talk about all this great music. Before we close with our final song, I want to say a couple things. First of all, just a big thank you to everyone who has been a part of making tonight's program possible. Obviously, things just had to be done a little different this year, but just everyone showed out in a big way. So a big thank you to our Chancel Choir, a big thank you to the New Covenant Orchestra, a big thank you to Asbury Power and Light, and of course our wonderful media team. They've just stepped up, gone above and beyond, and have just done a wonderful job to make this evening possible. At the same time, I also want to just offer an invitation to you. You know, if you are in the Tulsa community and looking for a church home, we would just encourage you to check out Asbury. Our whole mission here is helping others follow Jesus. That's what we're about. Just like we heard in John Newton's song, we don't proclaim to be perfect. We're all a work in progress. So if you are just looking for a church home, make sure you're not looking for a perfect place, because that's not us, not a perfect place with perfect people, but we're broken people that are in need of a Savior, and we are all working towards what we are going to be, what we are becoming because of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So just encourage you to join us Sunday, or if you want to check us out online, obviously that's been going on quite a bit lately with the coronavirus. So either way, we just encourage you to join us whenever you're able to. And now we're going to hear from one more
song.
Fantastic musicians here at Asbury.
Yep. Rosanna Corrales is our wonderful organist here at Asbury. She's going to close the program tonight with the official national march of our country, John Philip Sousa's Stars and Stripes Forever.
do the same thing. Y'all started perfect, so just 5 seconds. What for? Hands up.
It's kind of the same. I'm trying to see. I don't know.
Ba, 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 da, ba, 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 ba. Our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Sings a wretch like me. See, we can sing, for example, Gilligan's Island, Amazing Grace. Put it together.
It works.
Do it yourself. Sadly, it fits. Total, G-money.
Oh. You need a drink of your bourbon.
Is that what that is? That's one. Okay.
I say that was a little too high. Oh, beautiful for spacious God, great, great.
You don't have to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Of a medley called Celebration of American Spirituals by Led Zeppelin. I'm sorry. I don't know what made me say that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. We'll do
No,
that one
let's
again.
do
but
that
that's
again, please.
Our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team.
Doggone it. I've nicked me boot.
Easy there. Easy there. What is that? Is somebody in here?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I thought it's not John Newton, it's Isaac Newton.
It
And
was his
I
cousin.
went like, God.
We'll do it one more time.
All
We'll
right.
do it one more time.
John's tune was about gravity, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, perhaps no coincidence that in Martin Luther's final speech,
King.
Martin Luther King, I keep saying Martin Luther, MLK.
I think his final stand was, "Here I stand, I can do none other." I don't think there was a tune for that, but
Here I stand. Okay, so the Led Zeppelin, arranged by Metallica.
who did arrange it?
Our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team, our fantastic media team.